Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach Morning Show, the top morning show in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry headlines and, most importantly, provide some actual insight into what you can do with all of this information. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And what do I mean by that? I mean, I only speak to transportation professionals on this show, as well as my twice-a-week long-form podcast, because I want to put the right information out there from the people who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve, so you can take that information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference between your business and your life. It's one of the many, many reasons why I proudly fly that American flag behind me every single day. A, we're the greatest nation on earth, but B, I'm living my American dream, and I want to help each and every one of you live yours as well. I got a guest, a special guest. It's been a while since he's been on the show. And because I can see everybody backstage. So when I see them trying to adjust, I always try and catch them off guard. But I got a couple of seconds here because you guys know what I got to do. I got to give a shout out to my friends over at VHub, you guys. VHubApp.com. Whether you're a broker, carrier, or a shipper, we all need access to trailers. And we all like making money too, is what I've kind of came to that conclusion, because that's what you get with VHub, you guys. You get paid to move these trailers. That's on top of the revenue that you get by loading these trailers out. So what they're working on, you guys, is they got some trailers out in San Diego, California, needing to go over to Mount Crawford, Virginia. And it's a standard swing door. It pays $15.30 on that. And they also have some 48-foot roll-up dry vans available in San Diego right now, needing to go to Maquoketa, Iowa. Yeah, I'm from the Midwest. I can pronounce that. And that pays $1,800 on that. And then they also have some cross-border trailers needing to go from Evansville, Wisconsin to Mississauga, Ontario. And that pays $500 US per trailer. So hit them up, vhubapp.com. My man, Zach Lonergan and Stacy Steen, they'll be in the audience. Just do me a favor. Let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Tracy St. Clair over on YouTube, coming in hot as always. Abdul KC, I like it. First time listener. Let's go, baby. Thanks for tuning in, man. Corey Buchan, good morning. Adolfo Rodriguez, buenos dias. Let's get some questions answered. Today's not Friday, right? Tomorrow's Q&A day. Don't throw me off, Abdul, please. Here, Adolfo. Abdul's got that American flag out there in there. Sydney, coming in hot from Phoenix, Arizona. Let's go. Let's go. I like it. Or a guest is good. Okay. Thank you. You're throwing me off here. Let me see. Good morning from Cali. Sunny Sharma. Good morning, Orange Shirt Gang. Let's go, Freight Freaks. Drage from H-Town. I like it, man. Let's go. Devon, good morning from Arkansas. Byron, what's going on, Freight Coach? He says, all right, I got to bring him back on. It's been a while since Kyle's been on the show. We talk a lot, but we don't get to see each other all that often. What's going on, man? How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great.
Dude, I love it. I love the shirt matching with the paint behind you. I like that whole blue on blue look right there. It's that broker carrier blue.
We're putting broker carrier blue on everything. It's all down the hallway, conference rooms.
Dude, that's the way it should be. I'll show them tomorrow when I get them, but I got some cool new attire coming in for the Freight Coach, and I'm going to get some similar ones for broker carrier as well. I'll put it out there tomorrow. I don't want to say too much because I'm like super pumped about them. I really am. I was like a giddy child when I saw that I could make them.
That's awesome. We do need to upgrade our swag.
Oh, dude, our friends over at Branded Bills can definitely hook us up. They got all my stuff done. So what's going on?
Well, the scene for us really hasn't changed a whole lot. I mean, we've got. I'm sorry, getting an echo.
I don't think so. Hold on, let me mute myself.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, I'll just hop into it. I mean, in terms of what we're seeing, from the carrier onboarding side, those reutilization rates are getting a lot better. So what we're seeing is that per account or per broker, the average number of new carriers that are getting onboarded in a week is decreasing, while the number of loads that are getting covered by the same carrier on the same lane from the same broker is generally increasing. So the master plan that we've been trying to get everybody to understand for the last 3 years, I think we finally found a good way to explain it, and people are really getting on board, and it's really starting to work. We see people who they've got an A team on a lane, and they just go straight to their A team and get it done. They're not having to use the load announcements tool. They're not having to take the risk of onboarding a lot of new people. We're getting there. Carrier reutilization is the way to do it. And I think that what we've presented to the broker community is really helping a lot of people figure out what that looks like and how it works and how to do it. So I'm very proud of how things are going. It's been a great year so far, sorry.
I'm really looking forward to it as well. I'm really pumped. And again, there's so much I want to talk about, but I can't talk about because Kyle gets pissed at me, and he's like, "Yes, that's a thing, but not today. Damn it, keep your mouth shut." But
yeah, people going to recognize it when we launch dashboard version 3 coming out, in our new research tools and our new analytics tools, everything that we've used internally as sort of a master. I would call it like a crawling and analytics system, what refines our data product and presents it out to our users. We're now going to let our users just hop on there and try it out for themselves. And I think it's going to bring tremendous value. And as soon as we're ready to announce that it's coming, within days, then we'll put it out there. People will notice.
I cannot wait for that to happen. And yeah, it's, because I think at the end of the day, there's always the flavor of the week on social media about what everybody's bitching and complaining about. That's just what comes natural in this, but we're eons ahead, eons ahead of where things are and why you need to start looking at things in a different light, right? Because at the end of the day, you guys, the landscape is going to change. And I said this the other day, because, again, the markets are cyclical, things are cyclical. A lot of people who were a couple of months ago, or not months ago, excuse me, this time last year, or, the last 18 months, bitching, oh, we need carrier relationships. We need relationships. Everybody's eerily silent right now when it's a broker market, but things are starting to change. I don't have the time to go through all of my content to find the exact episode that I had called what I thought was going to be the starting of the market shifting. It is around this time. It is already happening. I'm seeing it with my current customers right now, and the opportunities that are presenting themselves, the conversations that I'm having with people are starting to change. So that would signal for that said market shift to have started. And I was texting with a buddy of mine this morning. He's seeing it out there as well. And he's a pretty large player in the industry. He's got trucks and a brokerage as well. And he's seeing it out there. And, and we're going to talk about that in an article today. But again, it's just you guys, you have an opportunity to get ahead of this, because inevitably, mark my words, next summer, July, August of next summer, all those same brokers are going to be banging that drum of, we need carrier relationships. They need to see relationships, even though they're driving these fuckers into the ground right now.
Yeah, exactly. If you're out there figuring out what a trucker's break even is and then offering them 10 cents a mile higher than that, and then they don't want to work with you again, look in the mirror. Don't be surprised by that. Market, as the article we're going to get to explains, capacity is leaving the market very quickly. And business is a war of attrition, right? So the carriers that are sticking around, that are still here, are the good ones who can command higher rates. So if you're not on board with paying higher rates, you're not on board with brokering freight.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly, man. And that's the thing is it's it's the chaos that was these last couple of years, and with where rates were and everything. And a lot of people, especially on the broker side, tend to think that that's just the way it's always going to be, right? Oh, we're going to make all this money. Newsflash, it's back to normal. And for those of us who have been in this market for a long time, like a lot of the individuals who watch this show, you guys remember how freight normally is. And that is a volume game. You make your money in volume. You don't get those one-hit wonders, especially in the commoditized dry van, reefer, and legal flatbed, legal step deck loads. is, to really see higher stuff is it's in the heavily specialized freight, project-based freight, a lot of other stuff that are out there. And, so like if you're in that position right now, you got to start thinking where it's like, it's not a sacrifice to look at how you can take this partnership that you have with a carrier and make it last long term. And I know it's always easier said than done, right? I've been in the nitty gritty for a very long time. I get it. It's always easier said than done, but it's out there. And there are a lot of carriers out there who are looking to work with the right broker. And it can be done with technology and with just old fashioned actually giving a shit about the people you're working with.
Yeah. Well, step one is, of course, the initial establishment of that relationship. And that's always the risk point, right? That's what all the vetting tools are for, all the screening tools, all the insurance monitoring. That's what all that's for, is that first phase of the operation. But once you've established a business relationship, or at least a business foothold with a carrier that does a good job and, delivers on time and doesn't cause a bunch of problems and actually sends you a BOL immediately on delivery, like your fantasy came true. It's time to, pucker up. I mean, you don't want that carrier to go anywhere. You don't want somebody to offer a slightly better rate than you, or be a little bit more charming than you and take your good carrier, right? So when you recognize that your best carriers are the most important members of your team, they're the ones who physically move your customers' goods to where they need to go. Butter them up, treat them well, pay them a little more, stay in communication, keep them abreast of every load you have. Carriers are never mad about getting lists of load offers, And so that's what we try to facilitate through our platform is we don't harp on all the negative stuff about avoiding double brokers. That's all just a natural part of the job. What we're here to do is foster these relationships between good brokers and good carriers, right? So it all starts with the treatment, with how you treat them. Pay on time. Don't call for updates as much as you might want to. The basic things like that tend to go a long way. And people talk to me about this a lot. They ask me questions about how to get good carriers to want to work with them more than once. And really all I see brokers doing is being flexible on rates and staying in communication and treating carriers with a bit of trust. When you call for location updates every 30 minutes, what you're communicating there is that you don't trust that carrier to do a good job, right? But the only way to make a person trustworthy is to trust them, right? So make carriers feel like respected professionals, pay them on time so that they feel that their work was valued, and you'll be amazed at how far that goes. I mean, and I know that those sound like kind of general rules for any business relationship, but here in this contracting environment where the good carriers are harder and harder to get in the door with, it's more important than ever.
Couldn't agree more with that. I couldn't agree more. Let's talk about this article, man, because it kind of leads in. It's a good segue because, this article is from FreightWaves, and it is 6 charts reveal freight industry is bouncing back. I have been noticing this for about probably the last month. I'm starting to see a lot more, not like a ton, right? Like I don't want to say it's like a 10,000% increase, but I'm starting to see more opportunities present themselves in the spot market capacity. And, for me, in this article, it's talking about that, the tender rejection index, this measures the percentage of truckloads that are turned down by trucking firms in the market. Tender rejections are at 4%, which is the highest level in 6 months. And this measures, shippers to truckloads for the transport of the goods. It has been increasing throughout the year. Big dips in the charts are when holidays occurred. Over the past 6 months, volumes are up 12%. For most of the year, tender rejections didn't reflect these higher volumes. This indicated that there was too much capacity in the market and too many trucks chasing available loads. However, this has changed in the past month. In the past 30 days, rejections are up 26%, while volumes are only up 1%. Capacity has been bleeding out of the market. Carriers, large and small, have been leaving the industry, meaning there are fewer trucks available to haul freight. Trucking companies have different operating costs, but none of them can survive long on low rates. Throughout this year, truckload spot rates have hovered between $150 a mile and as high as $210 a mile. That's excluding fuel. Like I need to point that out because they didn't in here that's excluding fuel. Meanwhile, the average break-even cost per mile for truckload ranges to $1.56 to $1.90 a mile. Combined with the low freight rates, trucking companies have been hurt by higher diesel prices. And that is something I think is of major thing to note here, is that diesel has risen like 70 cents a gallon over the last like 7 weeks or something like that. It's been a massive rise in there. And that is definitely going to play into affecting the market. And it's like, and again, I want to reiterate this. I said this yesterday too, is, if you're out there and you're fighting and scrapping and clawing to make it work, again, you're closer to it recovering than not. I put my prediction out there on when I think it is. And again, it's just based off of my industry experience. It's based off of what I'm seeing in the market, the conversations I'm having with real providers in the market, and they're starting to see it. And then like one thing I want to be very, very clear about, if this is an arbitrary example, but if the rates are at $2 a mile on a specific lane right now, don't think that they're going to jump to $2.50 or $2.75 a mile. It's going to be a slow and steady rise as more and more tender rejections happen, because what you're seeing is there's a lot of RFPs that are being bid on right now that are going to be published here in the coming months. And like I had mentioned yesterday, a lot of these larger providers, not everybody, I don't have any proof except for the proof that I had of when I was at a larger provider bidding on freight. You kind of just spray and pray and throw a bunch of fucking freight rates out there to capture volume because you have a stock price that you need to protect by having revenue, right? Revenue protects the stock price. When you can sit here and say, oh, our revenues are up, you can tell that story and sell that story. But eventually what happens is when that stuff happens, tender rejections start to rise as their higher paying customers start to ship again. And then that's where we find ourselves right now, is what I feel is at the beginning stages of that. So that's why I say continue to prospect, continue to get in front of people, because those opportunities that you're searching for and fighting for are very, very close to starting to present themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a cycle to it. It's just going to take a while. But, from the article, it's sort of a Cliff's Notes version of it. Of course, his main point that he was talking about was, if tender rejections are way, way up while volume is only slightly up, that indicates contracting capacity, right? And so ground level business activity, what's happening there is carriers are holding out for higher paying loads or maybe for higher rates on that same lane, right? So if the ball is in their court, carriers are confident that they can get more money than what's generally being offered right now. So that's why you see the mismatch between the rejection rate and the volume rising, right? But as the rejection rate comes back down and new demand backfills and you get to where your trend is the same, then you move back into more genuine price discovery, figuring out what the rates really are going to be. But for right now, I think anyone who's watching this probably anticipates that spot rates are going to continue to rise for a period of at least a few months. A lot more capacity is going to leave the market. And I actually, I dug into our data, our broker carrier data, to look at this point. So during the month of July, 10,650 DOT numbers went inactive. Right. And that's different from an authority lapsing. When a DOT number goes inactive, that means that company hung it up. They're done. Right. They're not switching up business models. They're not going to apply for a new authority in a few months when they've moved offices. None of the stuff that happens where MC numbers come and go. When a DOT number goes, that means that company has expressed their intention to stop operating as a DOT motor carrier. Right. So 10,650 of those in the month of July, which is pretty aberrant. It's normally not more than 4,000 to 6,000 in a month. Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting to see, and again, like this is what I'm really excited about with a lot of our upgrades and stuff is compiling a lot of this data into like what can actually tell a story, right? And like put some real substance behind a lot of those numbers, because you brought up a good point there, Kyle, is that it's normally around 4,000 to 6,000. But it's also the big difference between, is it a DOT number that is gone or an MC number that has lapsed? And, there's a lot of emphasis on the number, but it doesn't really tell the whole story like you're describing right there. Is there's a lot more behind it. So when because I've seen plenty of articles this year talking about, MC numbers. Okay, but brokers have MC numbers too, right? There's never been a distinct breakdown between out of all of those MC numbers, how many of them were carriers, how many of them were brokers, how many of them went on pause because they didn't extend their or like refile for their license for the year, because that happens as well. So there's, some of this data that you see out there, I'm not saying that it's being manipulated, but it needs to tell the whole story and not partial truths. And that's what I'm like really looking forward to the most is it's like, no, this is what you need to look out for in all of this stuff that's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. General market statistics have a lot more value than their surface level explanations. I think a trend we're going to see is a lot more transference of MC numbers. Because for whatever reason, the FMCSA allows the sale and transfer of current active motor carrier authorities, which seems kind of silly to me, right? Of course, it's exactly, that's what everything is always for. So what we're seeing, for example, every once in a while we do a complete sweep of the entire API, the entire FMCSA API, right? So you take the full index of every extant DOT number and just web crawl through the whole thing and see what you get back for your authority object. And we are seeing a really aberrant number of collisions now where an MC number that used to be associated to some other DOT number is now associated to a much newer one. Right now, if you doom scroll through LinkedIn and follow freight industry voices there, you could get the impression that all of this is attributed to some great conspiracy of double brokers trying to crush and destroy the American trucking market. In reality, it's generally a cost-saving measure or a reformation of a business entity in a different jurisdiction who then they want to, instead of going through the whole process again, they transfer their authority over. But what sits behind that is probably a consolidation of resources. You might have two carriers that are barely making it who decide to financially join forces and they only bring one authority with them, right? I would suspect that situation is extremely common in these trends that we're seeing in the data. But all of it points right back to what you're always talking about with this market contraction. It's going to get progressively more difficult to get your foot in the door with a good, reputable carrier for at least a few more months. Yeah.
I think again, because, I look at it with, from a perspective of I'm not saying that you don't need standards to work with somebody, because I think carriers should definitely vet every single broker that they work with as well. I say that all the time, as it should happen. If you're owning a business, you should vet all of the people that you're doing business with a fine-tooth comb, because you got to protect yourself, right? And for me personally, that is, sorry, Byron just cracked me up there. He says, it's not the double brokers, it's the government who's trying to destroy the trucking market. Oh, that gets me every time. But it's, for me, when we're out here and we're talking about a lot of this stuff is it's eventually, and again, we need standards. You need a fine line that to work with each other. But I think brokers sometimes, and again, and I'll use that relationships example about how, the social media, whether last summer or whatever was, relationships, carriers need to look at us as relationships, and you don't see it when it's in a broker's market. Just like you see, if you want to work with us, you need a unicorn, a 1967 Chevy, and then you need 17 other different things just to be able to get access to hauling freight for them. And what you'll see, mark my words, is a lot of that stuff gets peeled back when it's not in a broker's market, right? And there's a lot of changes that kind of go along with it. So it's just like the narrative changes when it's convenient for most. Just like if you scroll through social media, the doomsday people across every single social media platform, that gets attention. Nobody wants to talk about very few people talk about solutions and what people can do to continue to succeed in any freight market. We talk about creating your own freight market on the show, insulating yourself from a lot of this stuff, because again, there is going to be a solution. The solution is out there. And when you find that, that's what you need to pay attention to. Okay. You need to pay attention to how can you find, because again, as a freight broker, I'm still waiting for a freight broker to come to me with a business plan of how you can make money without trucks. Still waiting for that to happen. So it's like my whole thing is when you find those carriers that are doing the right thing, because they're more carriers than not just want to work hard, provide for their family, and live that fucking American dream. All right. That's why I say that every single day. They're out there trying to do the right thing. So when you find them, why are you discarding them after one shipment and then just going out to the spot market and trying to find another truck? More times than not, it has to do with that. I'm sorry. I keep doing this because I watched the Johnny Manziel documentary on Netflix there. But that's what it's about. It's about that short-term money. You want to try and get more money. I want to get long-term solutions for my customers and my carriers because I am a broker. All right. I need trucks to be able to have customers, just like I need customers to be able to have trucks. I got to play that balancing act out there. And when you find reputable partners that work with you, get you everything you need, focus on them, highlight those right carriers, and then give them so much fucking freight and treat them so good that they will never look anywhere else.
You hit it right on the head. Foster a strong relationship, pay on time, Don't ever, if you give people attitude about getting paid, that right there is what kills it. And I can tell you that from firsthand experience, not as a motor carrier, but as a freelance software developer for many years. If you take more than 30 days to pay me, I'm not doing another project for you. And so that's a crucial issue that I see people I follow the freight broker subreddit and a few of these forums, and they're always just conspiring about how to get rates a little lower, how to avoid getting hassled about quick pay. I'm like, well, what you're doing there with that line of thinking is trying to figure out how to get all carriers to not want to work with you, is what you're doing there. Right. And then we see this layer of, I guess I would call it elitism for lack of a better word, but brokers seem to think that a lot of brokers seem to think that they're too good to work with single truck owner ops, which is a huge mistake, right? First off, if you're a broker doing less than $1 million a year of revenue, you're the broker equivalent of a single truck owner op, right? And that's like 80% of brokers. Out of the 27,000 some odd active broker authorities, roughly 20,000 make less than $1 million a year of revenue, right? So that pool of brokers and the pool of single truck owner ops are staring at a gigantic opportunity to collaborate and form essentially a networked community of efficient, agile freight movers throughout North America. But nobody wants to do it. Nobody sees that opportunity because the rates are a little bit low, right? And it's just short-sighted thinking that people get over once they've been through a few cycles of a market, I think.
I would agree with that, man. I think that it's, there's a massive opportunity out there. And again, and this is, as we're kind of wrapping up, that's one of the biggest things I'm excited about really getting out there is it's like, it's time to highlight the right carriers who are doing the right thing. And for those people who are just trying to make a fucking name for themselves and take that dream and run with that dream to build something better for themselves. Cause they're out there, right? You've started companies, Kyle, I've started companies. You're just looking for an opportunity to prove yourself for the most part. Right. And that's what I think most people need to focus on in that is because there is a massive opportunity out there. All those partnerships you want are going to come from that one truck owner operator. Those guys are more times than, I would say more times than anything, they are everything you need in a carrier, and they appreciate everything that you do. And when you find that, again, it's always easier said than done, right? I understand. I actually live this life. I don't just talk about this shit. When you can carve that out, man, that's when shit gets really exciting. That's when you start to grow and take advantage of that opportunity. Cause that's what it is, Kyle. There is a massive opportunity out there, but as always, man, dude, it's good to have you on and shoot the shit. How can anybody find out more about you and connect with Kyle a little bit more? Everybody knows how to find me. And of course, you guys know I can put you in contact with him, but where do they find Kyle?
Well, and it's always a pleasure to come on your show as well. I'm thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me. Anybody who wants to get a hold of me, you can search by my name on LinkedIn. I log into that a couple times a week, so I'll see your message. My email is kyle@brokercarrier.com. And then our website, of course, is brokercarrier.com. And if you use our contact form on the website, you've got a 1 in 6 chance that it'll be me who catches your ticket and responds to you. You know, that's the size of our team, just for context. So, yeah, those 3 methods, and we're very lax. We love to chat. You know, we're not stodgy or too busy. Just reach out. We'll talk.
Perfect. I love it. Well, that's going to be it for today, you guys. Tomorrow's Q&A day. All right. So if you got those Q's, drop them in my DMs and I'll bring those A's tomorrow on Friday's show out there. Subtle reminder. It's a holiday weekend. You guys know what to do. Call your shippers, call your receivers, find out where carriers are parking that freight over the weekend so we can all get out there and enjoy it. As always, if you guys got value in what you heard here today, subscribe to the show. You guys get it out there, rank it, tell your friends about it, because if you see value, your network's going to see value in it as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon. And now